Whenever talking about Monet and Impressionism, you really do have to touch on his painting Impression Sunrise. Now, in this painting, he has captured his sense of a specific landscape, of a specific scene. And in 1872, this will be seen by a critic who looks at it and says, this is nothing more than the impression of a thing. And Monet captures that and says, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. Thus, the name Impressionism comes from this painting, as I've touched on already. Now, to do these paintings, to get into Impressionism, he's taking advantage of new technology, which I've touched on. The paint that's coming in lead tubes, which allows artists to work out in the field. Now, to Monet, that gives it a sense of fidelity, of honesty. Because if the artist is out there capturing it in life, then he's not going to be as prone to altering things, either because of an accident or forgetting, or because he thinks he can improve on what nature has created. And so to Monet, this is all about honesty. Now, in these paintings, we often see this very loose brushwork. And that loose brushwork is in part a practical thing. He's doing it because you have to move quickly. Imagine how quickly the sun sets, especially when it's very low in the sky, or how quickly the sun rises from the same position. As it does, all of the light, everything changes. And so he has to work quickly to capture everything in that scene. And he's going to boil it down. He's giving us a concise version of what he's seeing. He's not giving us every little element and every little detail. We don't see a massive wake coming off the boat. We merely get the suggestion of it to show that the boat is moving. So as we return to the piece, he really gives us a sense of the atmosphere of what it would be like to be standing there looking at this scene. Now he calls it Impression Sunrise, so we know that it's a sunrise. And you can get a sense of maybe a warm summer sunrise. It's already 70 degrees, it's a little hazy, you know it's going to be a hot day. And we're obviously in an urban environment. After all, we have the masts of tall ships over here. We have cranes over here, so this must be a port of some form. We have other forms just kind of poking out of the horizon, telling us there must be buildings and other things on the other side. But if you look closer, they're nothing more than singular brush strokes, suggesting the form, but never actually drawing it out in any detail. The sun is captured as a single circle in, well, almost the center of the piece, a little bit off to the right and a little bit above. And he's doing that just to give us the simplicity of the form. Obviously, we get the sense of this blue haze and the sun coming through it with that sort of vibrant orange that you see only very early in the morning or very late at night. We get a sense that maybe it's a little bit chilly, maybe it's a little bit damp on this day. Look at the haze that's built up along the surface. And let's talk about how he does it. Now, if you look at the canvas and you look kind of between the brush strokes, you'll see that there's a bit of underpainting. There's almost a puce or lilac in the upper surfaces, a little bit more of a blue as he moves down, but you see that he's underpainted the canvas. He's probably done that before he arrived at the scene. And then he very quickly works over elements that aren't that important. The sky here, he just has to get across a blue-orange. Well, that's really tricky. So he instead uses a scubbling technique, almost a dry brush technique, to apply his paint and give us the impression, the sense of that sky. He's put the horizon right in the middle. It's a very comfortable place to put it. It gives us a very terrestrial feel. There's nothing grandiose about this scene. The water has been captured through a few brush strokes. We get the sense of moving water simply because he's broken up the reflection of the sun, and we see these dark strokes in the foreground giving us a sense of wave action, even though we know that it isn't really there. With these Impressionist paintings, the idea is to step back and look at it as a whole. You stand back 6 feet and it looks like the scene. He's not trying to create something finished. He's trying to create a study. He's trying to capture something, a fleeting moment where he is studying color, which we see clearly here, the sun through the blue mist, the interaction of the blue and orange throughout the scene. He's using a very limited palette, and he's giving us a sense of studying light, how that haze has affected the atmosphere and how it changes how we feel about the scene. That is what draws us into Monet and into Impressionism.